Before I start, I'd like to thank Alan and CITA for the invitation to speak here this morning. My presentation is going to cover the design and presentation of bids and what you can do to make a bid stand out and to achieve success, basically. I better introduce myself as well. My name is Jimmy Walsh. I'm Director of Tenderteam, which is a bid consultancy. I'm also Director of Dara Creative, which is an established design consultancy. We have a long track record of working with companies in the construction sector. We're 7 years in business, so we've worked with a lot of companies who you'd know in terms of helping them with their branding and presentation, web design, and now the bid as well. So I'm in trouble with this here. Just 1 second. Pal, might ask your help here for a second, sorry. Just get the full screen.
Yeah. Should do this. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Matt. So, before I start my last question, who here has been involved in putting bids together in terms of preparing bids or submitting bids on behalf of your company? I'm going to get a show of hands who's. That's a good number. How have you found the process? Has it been an enjoyable experience, or did you have many difficulties? I think I see heads nodding. It can be very difficult, but there is a process, and by following that process, and like anything, the more experience you have doing something, the better you get at it, and the more successful you get. So I'll go through the presentation here. So it's all about how you can brand your bids, how you can use design and presentation to achieve success to your bid. The agenda will be why use design. We're going to talk about designing your bid, printing it, packaging it. I'll give you a number of tender tips, and then finally just a couple of things to remember at the end. Okay, the first one will be why bother with design. Why use design in your bid or your tender? What wins a bid? There are three things in our opinion that wins a bid: that you can deliver the best solution, that you have the best company, and obviously the best price. Now, design can play a big part in the first two. We can't really do much of the price, but if you put the time and effort into getting the first two right, price is not as critical. Whereas if your bid doesn't stand out from other bids, it's going to come down to price. So how can design help? It can help your bid be impressive. It can help you persuade and be different from other bids. And it can help you to remember it. The whole purpose of using design in the bid is to make your bid stand out, to make it easy for the evaluator, and you know, it's important to put yourself in their shoes in terms of they're evaluating a large number of bids. So the company that makes it easier for them are generally going to get more marks. You need to make your bid look good. You need to make it easy to read, as I kind of alluded to earlier. It has to be consistent. You'll see bids sometimes being put together by different people, and it's obvious that there's no consistent tone of voice or consistent flow to the bid document. And obviously the last one isn't obvious, but sometimes bids are submitted at the last minute, and that's where mistakes occur. So there needs to be a process there from when you get the bid to make sure it can be delivered on time, and you go through the different steps involved, and there's enough time allowed for each. Okay, let's talk about how you can brand your bid. And I have some examples of some companies we've worked with here over the years. Salmon Group have won quite a few education projects in this country here, and recently they were awarded a very large bid education project in the United Arab Emirates, and we'd have worked with them on the branding, the website, and creating a design style for the bid documents. These are some more examples here. We're looking at the different elements of a bid document from a design and presentation point of view. You'll have covers. Sometimes it depends on the size of the bid. You might have a wire-bound document. If it's a larger document, it'll be in ring binder folder, and obviously it's important that that's branded. How do you break up the document? Use dividers. and there's different types of dividers. You can have oversized A4, you can have them tabbed, but again, it breaks up the document, makes it easier for the evaluator to find the information they need. Some bids, the internal pages will be laid out in Word, and most people are very familiar with Word, but Word is limited in what you can do from a design and layout point of view. So in the design business, most companies would use a program called InDesign, which gives a lot more scope to use graphics and images, and it can be much quicker to put a large document together. So some of our clients would have invested in InDesign and would got trained in it, and they're using it for the bids. Companies like Salmon. But for most companies, you're still talking about using Word. One thing that's important in the construction sector especially is to be able to visually show your work, and that's where photography comes in. We would have invested a lot of time and effort in terms of getting really good photographs to show the project experience, and in a bid situation, your project sheets and showing relevant project sheets is going to be critical. The other area we just mentioned here is the CVs, to bring out the experience of your team in the actual bid and in the CVs. Important to break up the document by using charts and diagrams. If you've pages and pages of text, it's very hard for the evaluator to pick any key points out of it. So break up the document as much as possible. Use tables, use charts, use diagrams, use bold text, pull up important paragraphs and make them stand out on the page. It just makes the key points come up, stand out, and makes it easier for the evaluator to say. When it comes to printing, then you have a number of options with printing. Some companies would do it in-house, but again, if you're doing in-house, use good quality paper, have a good laser printer. If it's the items might be pre-printed, would be the covers and the dividers. And the advantage of using professional printing is you can do it at a higher level and it's less hassle. These are just some examples of how a tender document might be presented in terms of boxes. Obviously, you need to work out in terms of when you decide on what boxes or presentation act to use, how big is the document going to be, how many individual folders, and get a suitable box and brand it, and you can use labels and so on to do that. And this is just some examples here. In some tender documents, there will be a requirement to put a CD in, so it's important that CD is branded, carrying through the design style from the bid document. These are just some examples of pre-printed folders. Again, a selection of projects that have been professionally designed, different size of folders, different types. I'll move on to just talk about some general tips for tendering. You've got to keep your tendering a bid relevant. It's important to read the request for tender document carefully. One of the most important decisions anybody involved in tenders can do is the bid, no bid decision. Everybody familiar with that? Basic bid, no bid decision is to just take your tender document and go through it carefully and see can you meet all the criteria. That's a common mistake people make, that they start getting involved in the bid and they're halfway through and says, oh, we can't fulfil this criteria, so they're wasting the time. Another mistake people make is go for quantity rather than quality. It's just in the current environment, people are going for everything that's out there instead of being more selective, going for bids where they have a track record or some experience and giving it the best shot then. So it's important to read the request for tender document and define exactly what the contract authority is looking for. And make your content relevant. Only include relevant projects. If it's an education project, just include education projects, and same with CVs. Pull out the relevant education experience in CVs. So don't just put information in there to fill up space. And this is an example of a typical tender here. And it's important to keep it on schedule. That when you get the tender, decide to go for the tender, that you get a schedule together and chart the different stages in the tender, so you're not left at the end trying to pull it together at the last minute. So you drop a task list and charge you and allocate work to different people within the team. So the tender has to be written, it has to be approved, designed obviously, collated and delivered. And it's important that there's a schedule for each task within that. So you set deadlines and you stick to the deadlines. And obviously that's a given, you don't leave it to the last minute. But unfortunately, that's what often happens. But with the proper plan and a proper system in place, it's less likely to be left to the last minute and the quality of your submission will be higher. This is a typical schedule here for a tender with the different actions, different responsibilities for different people and dates clearly down there. It's important to keep your tender document branded. Sorry. In terms of your branding, you include the logo, the font styles, the colours. I mentioned imagery earlier. Good use of photography, and obviously it needs to be consistent with your website and brochures. Basically, a bid is a selling document after all, so everything has got to be consistent and bring out your key strengths, your key selling points in the document. It's important you get the right impression that you are the best company to deliver that bid. I said earlier about what people are looking for is that you're the best company, that you're the best solution. So try and get that across right throughout the bid. And this is an example of a pre-qual document that's branded and with I think this was education submission. So again, there's educational projects on the cover of the document there. Keep your document, your tender unique. Get it stand out from your competitors and make a good first impression. And again, as I said earlier, highlight the benefits of your solution right throughout the document. Why you're different, why your tender is the best. Then this is just another example of a tender document. This was actually a glass case that was delivered to the contract authority. It was on caster wheels and was wheeled into their office, so it did make an impression. And it's well branded. There was it was a larger tender. It was a design and build tender. So there was samples of materials included, lots of architectural drawings and so on. You've got to keep your documents simple. Again, putting yourself in the shoes of the people evaluating the tender, the easier it is for them to do the job and evaluate it, the better chance of picking up higher marks. So break up the document, use headings, font styles, colours, bullet points rather than blocks of text, and as I said earlier, graphics and charts. And don't just cram the information into the page, make it stand out. Keep it clear. Make it easy to read and to go through. Again, put yourself in the shoes of the evaluators. That you have a clear table of contents and everything's numbered so that they can go back and check different sections of this if you need to, and use the dividers. Just an example of a document with clear tabs and dividers. Now this again is a given, but keep the document correct. Have a system to proofread. Have people who might necessarily be involved in the bid document to proofread it, to pick up any typos, and don't rely on the spell check, because everybody knows a lot of spell check are American and that will cause problems as well. Keep the document compact, which makes it easier to read again. We've had examples of a submission last year to the Department of Environment, and it was on single-sided paper, so that was a negative because it was wasting paper. So things like the document's much easier to read if it's double-sided. So don't waste paper. And again, here's some examples of some tender documents. This comes down to keep it together. This is all about the packaging, how you present it. Get a suitable box, and don't use a standard kind of photocopy paper box. Get it depends on the size of the bid, but get a customized box, or get a You can get boxes in other hardware stores that can look quite nice and brand them and label them. But it's important that all your documents, if the document's not put in a nice presented box, they can get separated, and that's a no-no from the point of view of bid. These are some examples of customised boxes that are branded again. This one was for a company called ABM Construction. So it was a large A3 flat box that the submissions would slide into. And again, this is an obvious one: keep it quality. Always ensure that you be preparing and submitting a quality bid. Like, your bid will reflect on how well you can deliver the project for the client. If your bid is not quality, it's not well put together, it's not well thought out, the client is going to say, well, these guys are not going to be able to deliver a quality project for me. So never ever compromise on quality. Again, an example of a tender document for Office of Company coming MJ Flood. Finally, just some things to remember. A great presentation will always be remembered. And this is an example of one for salmon. The first impression may be the winning impression. Have a definite system in place that suits you, your business, for putting your bids together and for turning around quickly. But by following a system, it gets easier, and with experience, subsequent tenders should be easier to put together and can be produced at high quality. And a tender can be delivered within a budget. It doesn't. People have a perception that if they're going to use design and do quality presentation, like I'm talking here, it can be that they'll cost for it. It doesn't necessarily have to do that. Some more examples here for a company called Rogers. Company websites become more and more important, so you can use the website to support your tender submission, so that again, it's kind of the consistency of branding, but you can have lots of additional information on your website. But when the evaluator goes to the website, it's important that, again, there's that consistency there, and that the website looks well and supports the tender bid. These are just some examples here of websites we've done for different construction clients. This is John Paul Construction, and again on the website we'd make good use of photography, showing the projects and the people as well, because after all it's a people business, so you're selling the services and what the team can do. That's the end of the presentation. The website address is tenderteam.ie. So I'm not sure we're going. Are we doing questions now?
Questions? Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much.